He was once a revered hero but chose to fall and become a mere prison guard. Because heroes cannot kill at will, but prison guards can execute death sentences. Not long ago, the protagonist defeated the most ferocious white-haired criminal, but at the cost of his entire team's suffering. He had the chance to kill the criminal but couldn't bring himself to do it, having promised his comrades to let the law judge the criminal, a decision he later deeply regretted. The white-haired criminal was sentenced to death by law and temporarily held in the heavily guarded lookaless prison. The protagonist, alone at home, watched news about the criminal's sentencing and the upcoming funeral for his hero comrades. With a grim expression, the protagonist listened to the news. His brother, a prison guard, walked over and turned off the TV. The protagonist looked at his brother. Regretting not killing the white-haired criminal himself, his brother urged him to heed their comrade's advice. A hero's duty is to save, not to kill. Even the most heinous criminals should face legal justice, and heroes must never kill, no matter the circumstances. Though reluctant, the protagonist adhered to this pact. His brother also believed criminals should face legal trials, with prison guards carrying out executions. The brother informed him that the white-haired criminal would be executed next week, and they attended the hero's funeral together. The matter seemed resolved, but the protagonist never expected that a week later, he'd be attending his brother's funeral instead. In despair, he couldn't understand why the condemned criminal was unharmed while his brother, the executioner, was dead. Silently standing by his brother's body, the protagonist was interrupted by a sudden voice. It was the warden of lookaless prison. The warden handed him a tablet showing the execution record of the white-haired criminal. During the execution, the prison experienced a power outage, and the criminal unleashed a powerful electromagnetic pulse. Several guards were blasted away, and the unshackled white-haired criminal killed them all. The protagonist stared at the screen in disbelief. The warden explained the dire situation. All prisoners in the prison had been released. Fortunately, the prison was sealed in time, preventing the death row inmates' escape, but the guards inside had no chance to get out. The protagonist, seething, asked who caused the electromagnetic pulse, but the warden had no answers. The warden came with one request for the protagonist to quell the riot in lookaless prison. The protagonist was eager to help but had one condition. Since his comrades said a hero's duty is to save and his brother said only the law can judge and guards can execute, in lookaless prison, he would no longer be a hero but a prison guard. I am prison guard Su Jianglu. Criminals, prepare yourselves. The first-floor prisoners, seeing the protagonist in a guard uniform, underestimated him, thinking he still wouldn't dare kill. They rushed forward, but with one punch the protagonist cleared a path through them. The bosses on the lower floors sensed an unusual aura. The white-haired criminal laughed excitedly. You've finally come. Adjusting his uniform, the protagonist declared the start of the executions. The death row inmates, enraged, faced him. They argued that carrying a few lives on their conscience didn't justify death. Some foolishly demanded lawyers, while the smarter ones prepared to fight. As others distracted the protagonist, a green-haired man teleported behind him. Thinking freedom was near, he underestimated the protagonist. With a cold turn and a kick, the protagonist sent the green-haired man crashing. The crowd fell silent. He offered a choice: return and wear collars or die. As the prisoners hesitated, a voice from the crowd chose death. The man argued, why not fight when death was certain? The choice was unfair to them. The protagonist called it his final act of kindness. Realizing he was serious, the prisoners grew fearful. A shout from the man rallied them, shocking everyone. He claimed heroes were nothing to fear. Kill him for freedom. The protagonist recognized him. So it's you, the trash, the warden mentioned. The warden had briefed him about the prison's structure. Lookaless prison categorized inmates by danger level. The first floor held 300 serial killers. The first basement level's 100 inmates could endanger a village. The second basement's 30 could threaten a city. The third basement's 10 could endanger a nation. The fourth basement's 5 could threaten a continent. The fifth basement, including white hair, had 3 who could endanger the world. The actual number of enemies was fewer. The prisoners were disorganized, ready to betray each other. But the first floor rallied around one person, Hilrison, who could enhance others' abilities through sound. Facing the man, the protagonist listed his crimes, killing 7 civilians and a second-tier hero. The man corrected him. 10, including the hero's unborn twins. 10 because the female hero was pregnant with twins. The protagonist glared at his vile face. Then I'll take this seriously. He asked the warden if the prison was sturdy enough. The warden confirmed it was. Relieved, the protagonist no longer held back. The man thought he was bluffing. Compared to other heroes, the protagonist was obscure. They believed he used his comrades as bait to catch white hair. Growing arrogant, they activated Hilrison's ability. Enhanced, the prisoners charged at the protagonist. With one kick, he sent the front rows flying. He entered serious mode. One punch scattered the prisoners like falling petals. When he landed, a mountain of corpses lay behind. No survivors. First floor executions complete. He moved to the remaining floors, losing count of his kills. For stragglers, he offered the same choice: collar or death. No one chose the collar. Prisoners rushed him and died. Some pretended to surrender, hoping to catch him off guard. They faked accepting collars, then launched surprise attacks. Their strongest blows couldn't scratch him. Their attacks were futile against his strength. He recalled a comrade's words. Non-physical ability users are pitiful. They only shoot from afar, never feeling the thrill of physical destruction. The protagonist savored the feeling of raw combat. Felt good. After clearing the small fry, he reached the final solitary cell. Before him stood an old acquaintance, Chuck Field. Years ago, the Hero Alliance arrested him. His vile behavior and arrogance made the protagonist want to kill him, but the team captain stopped him. Frustrated, the protagonist had walked away. Now facing the scum again, he offered the same choice. The outcome was predictable. Without hesitation, the protagonist slashed through him. But Chuck Field didn't die. It was an illusion. Chuck Field explained he killed to etch himself into victims' memories. Even in death, they couldn't forget him. His ability was to imprint his image in their minds. He could recall every victim and make them reappear as he tried to summon one. His arm fell off. The protagonist remarked, "Worthy of a solitary cell. You talk a lot, but you can't dodge my attacks." Chuck Field knew he'd die there. But he had one last question. "Do you remember how many you've killed?" The protagonist replied, "I don't need to remember scum like you." As he spoke, a dead comrade appeared before him. A pink-haired saintly figure urged him not to kill. Chuck Field thought this would save him, but it only fueled the protagonist's rage. The no-killing rule led to his brother's death. Without hesitation, he sliced the illusion in two. Glaring coldly, he asked, "Anything else useless to say?" Chuck Field was shocked that he destroyed the comrade's image so easily. The protagonist retorted, "It's just an illusion." Chuck Field's eyes widened in shock. The next moment, he was cut in two. The protagonist coldly declared, "I'm not a hero now. I'm a prison guard." With his last breath, Chuck Field looked at his back. "You're not a prison guard, you're just a monster." Outside the prison, 3 people observed everything. A girl, watching the protagonist's actions, was thrilled. "There he is, the husband I've been looking for." After clearing the first floor, the warden approached, asking if he needed rest. The protagonist declined. Demanding the doors be opened, the warden asked him to rescue any surviving guards below. The protagonist asked how many survived per floor, but the warden didn't know. Communications were down from the first basement except for the 5th, as if someone wanted to be seen. The protagonist ordered the doors opened as the steel gates parted. The warden warned him of the vast gap between the first floor and the basement. An ambush awaited as the doors cracked open. The prisoners attacked relentlessly with various abilities. The warden, shocked, called out to the protagonist. A prisoner suddenly grabbed the warden by the neck, lifting him high. "You're the warden? What a catch!" He turned to his allies, gloating. "Hey scum, it's the warden. Come line up and take your shot." He reveled in his moment, but then froze at the sight behind him. In an instant, the area was littered with bodies. He looked up in disbelief. The protagonist was already above him. With one punch, the impact sent the warden flying. The prisoner was torn to pieces. The protagonist looked down at the fallen warden. "Stay back, it's dangerous." The warden stammered, understood as the protagonist turned to leave. The warden called out again. One last thing. The parents captured by Hiro Torme are in a first-floor solitary cell. The protagonist nodded coldly and walked away. In the first basement's solitary cell, the remaining prisoners gathered. Hearing the booming noises outside, they prayed for their ambush's success. Their hopes were soon crushed. The woman, a former hero's parent with a record of killing 28 heroes, was among them. She looked down on these brainless inmates. Her arrogance provoked a burly man want to die. She laughed. "You fools ever killed an ability user?" Enraged, the man activated his ability, exuding power. But in a flash, she sliced him in two. Transformed, her hair and claws became invincible as a hero. She defeated many villains and learned to kill ability users. Knowing the protagonist's ability, she invited the others to join her. She'd teach them how to hunt ability users. Outside, the trio watching the protagonist approved, especially the girl. She'd initially chosen white hair, who used an electromagnetic pulse to save her. A man questioned, "He's a hero. How's that useful to us?" The girl grinned, "He was a hero. Now he's different, but you can only pick one. Polygamy's illegal." The girl frowned, troubled. "Hard choice, let's see who survives between them. Whoever lives is my destined match, I'm a genius." As the protagonist approached, the parents shared intel on him. She was once an experienced hero. A purple-haired man, Speechy, questioned, "What's the point of knowing his ability?" She was part of a top-tier hero alliance while they were third-tier at best. The parents smirked confidently. She knew this, but after Hero Rosa led the alliance, she reformed heroism. First, she redefined heroes, banning them from killing villains. Second, she mandated team training. Finally, she abolished the 1-to-5 hero ranking system. The parents explained this because the protagonist joined after ranks were abolished. He had no notable feats, leading to rumors of a connection with Rosa. Still, he wiped out the first floor effortlessly. But none here matched even a second-tier hero. The parents grinned. "The first floor's just small fry, any of you could do it." Here, everyone carried thousands of lives, far beyond the first floor. The parents clarified they weren't calling him weak, just that they knew his weakness. Centuries ago, ability users were classified into 3 types: physical enhancement, creation, and special abilities. The parents believed they found his weakness from observing his training. He never dodges. The remaining prisoners joined their plan. Some distracted him, and he offered the usual choice: collar or death. They responded with ranged attacks from both sides. The parents and Speechy watched via brainwave communication, confirming he didn't dodge. He didn't need to. The parents mixed in ability-suppressing devices collected from guards. 15 devices could seal a top-tier hero's powers. They used 30. The plan worked perfectly, attaching all devices to him. The prisoners cheered, nearly celebrating. But the parents' plan had 3 fatal flaws. First, the protagonist's strength far exceeded a top-tier hero's. He shattered the devices the parents ordered. Plan 2: take surviving guards hostage. The second flaw was his dual abilities, physical and special. He unleashed a barrage of dark flashes. Prisoners dropped, guards unharmed. His control was terrifying. Seeing defeat, survivors begged to wear collars. The third flaw: he offered no second chances. Except for the 2 behind, the floor's executions were complete. Speechy, terrified, confronted the parents. "This isn't what you promised." As Speechy ranted, the parents questioned reality. How could all 3 plans fail? Annoyed by the noise, the parents snapped. Transforming, she clawed Speechy to death. "Trash, daring to yell at me?" Still furious, she couldn't calm down. "If you're so great, why hide back here?" A guard she'd used as a seat tried to sneak away. Repeated line, likely an error in original. You're courting death, spotting the guard. She terrified him into crying for help. The parents coldly stared at the guard, slowly raising their claw. But the next moment, their claw fell from their body. The parents stared in disbelief at their severed arm. They slowly turned to see the protagonist behind them. No longer interested in the escaping guard, Yujing. The protagonist coldly gazed at them. Hero parents? No, death row parents. Any last words? Clutching their severed arm, the parents laughed maniacally. Damn it. I'm done for. Their sister felt her older sibling was as reliable as a hero, inspiring the parents to become one. But when their sister awakened her powers, her first act was to send her sibling to death row. The parents once took pride in their sister's reliance. But as a hero, they found the industry diseased. Some heroes in defeating villains proudly ignored civilian safety. To fix this, Rosa, the alliance leader, banned heroes from killing, but the parents, perhaps flawed by nature, witnessed endless violence without relief. Their personality gradually warped. They continued as a hero until they accidentally killed a villain in a mission. Initially uneasy, they soon found killing exhilarating. For the first time, they felt enraptured. Tears of excitement flowed as they realized how thrilling killing was. From then on, they embraced slaughter. They especially enjoyed killing weaker heroes. The look of betrayal on their faces was intoxicating to the parents. But secrets can't stay hidden forever. The lingering stench of blood aroused their sister's suspicion. She secretly followed her sibling and witnessed their dark side. Stunned, she couldn't believe her eyes. The parents, spotting her, were equally flustered. Didn't I tell you not to wander at night? With their secret exposed, the parents gave up pretense. Want to join me? The sister, incredulous, gasped, What are you saying? Seeing her refusal, the parents didn't press. Then I'll do it myself. But the sister screamed, No. As her words fell, the parents stared in shock at chains binding their arm. At that moment, their sister Tuame's powers awakened. Her first act as a hero was to target her sibling. Tuame became a hero, while the parents became a fugitive. Ultimately, the parents were captured by their own sister. Though caught, they smiled and spoke. What, not even calling me sister anymore? But Tuame replied coldly, I have no sister like you. Is that so? What a pity. The scene shifts back to the present, with the parents knowing they're doomed. They only wanted to ask a few questions. They heard all other heroes in Rose's alliance had died. The protagonist confirmed this. Then they asked their biggest concern, so Hero Tuame is dead too? The protagonist's silence was answer enough. The parents took deep breaths to calm themselves. So, she's dead? I told her not to be a hero. What a foolish sister. Finally, they asked if their sister suffered in death. The protagonist recalled the last time he saw her. In her final moments, Tuame kept crying, It hurts. Save me, sister. He told the parents, Your sister called your name as she died. The parents regretted hearing this. It soured their mood. Resigned, they transformed again. Perhaps they just wanted to confront Whitehair, who killed their sister, to vent their suppressed rage, even if it meant death. But reality was cruel, even at their limit. They were no match for the protagonist, who sent them flying with one kick. Fueled by hatred, the parents charged again. But it was futile. The protagonist's uppercut struck them hard. Taking the blow, the parents spat blood. Their transformation collapsed, and they glared unwillingly at the protagonist. The protagonist looked down coldly and spoke. Even for death row inmates, killing a comrade's family feels bad. The parents saw a glimmer of hope, pleading humbly for mercy. But the protagonist showed no pity. How did you treat those who begged you for mercy? He clenched his fist, dark flashes swirling around it. The parents' final words to him were two. Damn it! A deafening roar echoed through the prison. Prisoner parents, execution complete. Feeling the tremors from above, Whitehair could barely contain his excitement. Though another fifth-floor prisoner, a woman, was present, she didn't resist Whitehair's taunts. Whitehair found her boring, thinking the protagonist was more interesting. He prepared to confront the protagonist, but a sudden force blasted him across the room. Whitehair was sent flying. The attack caused no harm, just startled white hair. A figure approached bored. "Kid, Grandpa's here to play." Sensing the figure's extraordinary aura, white hair grew intrigued. "Quite a scary grandpa." The old man smiled kindly. "Scary? Not at all. I'm a gentle grandpa who loves kids." In the control room, a panicked guard reported to the warden that fifth-floor prisoner Kingston had met white hair. Watching the monitors, the warden was pleased. Thinking one would fall in this clash, he preferred Kingston's victory, though dangerous, as the prison's first and longest-serving inmate. Unlike others with countless kills, Kingston only killed 3 and surrendered himself. His first kill was the era's strongest villain, the other 2 the strongest heroes. He appeared suddenly, killed the world's top 3, then felt empty. Invincibility is lonely, so he surrendered, but tensions between the government and Hero Association kept him unexecuted for 30 years. White hair, finding it troublesome, refused to play with Kingston. But Kingston was eager to engage. He reassured white hair, saying he didn't enjoy killing the weak. Irked by the dismissal, white hair got serious. With a wave, countless flesh orbs flew at Kingston. Kingston calmly used his flowing shatter eye technique. The orbs were deflected and burst, raining blood. Kingston smiled. "No other attacks?" White hair scoffed. "You're boring, you'll die of old age soon anyway." Kingston fell silent. Kids these days are so arrogant. He'd seen countless like white hair, always thinking they were the strongest. Stomping the ground, the underestimated Kingston bared his true fangs. The stomp cracked the 5th floor and shook the entire prison. The warden hadn't yet grasped the gravity of the situation. He still trusted the prison's defenses. But as Kingston unleashed his power, he leaped, aiming a double kick at white hair's face. White hair dodged just in time. But the prison wasn't so lucky. The impact left the protagonist in awe. When the dust settled, the guards were horrified. The indestructible prison now had a massive hole. The warden felt the sky had collapsed. White hair, seeing Kingston's work, finally got excited and prepared to follow him out. But a voice from behind interrupted. The trio, observing from outside, appeared in the prison. White hair, shocked, hadn't sensed their arrival. The warden couldn't believe it. Someone teleported to the 5th floor. The girl glanced at the camera audience. "You're out." All 5th floor cameras shut off. The warden slammed his desk in frustration. Meanwhile, after clearing the first basement, the protagonist reached the next floor's gate. He radioed the warden to open it, but was told to wait. The protagonist muttered to himself, "Maybe the signal's bad underground?" He wedged his hands into the gate's seam, pushing the massive steel door open. He descended the stairs slowly. This floor was different from the last 2. No people, not even bodies, just eerie cleanliness. It felt suspiciously pristine. A scream echoed, and the protagonist glanced toward it. A female guard ran toward him, chased by monsters. Spotting him, she called out his brother's name. As a monster nearly pounced, the protagonist intervened, dispatching them effortlessly. The relieved woman rushed to hug him. He pushed her away coldly. Looking at her, he clarified he was Jianghao's brother. Realizing her mistake, she said, "Then you're Hero Su Jianglu." She cheerfully reintroduced herself. Smiling, she extended a hand. "I'm your future sister-in-law. Nice to meet you." The protagonist was stunned, never hearing this from his brother. In the second basement's solitary cell, a sibling duo ruled, having turned all prisoners into puppets. The sister sensed her cute dog had just died. The brother remarked, "Really? That guy deserves hell." The protagonist never imagined the person he saved was his future sister-in-law, nor that she was pregnant, meaning his brother's legacy would continue. He immediately wanted to escort Jia out safely. His future nephew couldn't be at risk, but Jia insisted her abilities were useful here. The sibling duo in the cell were disciples of legendary hero Magd, able to summon demons and turn humans into puppets. The entire floor's prisoners, plus other guards, were under their control. If the siblings' powers were undone, the guards could be restored. The protagonist couldn't distinguish them, but Jia's ability to read memories could identify the guards. She reassured him she wouldn't use it on him still. He didn't want to bring her. His future nephew was his priority. But Jia's duty as a guard compelled her to stay. Reluctantly, the protagonist agreed. For safety, he enveloped her in his power. Soon, they encountered a wave of puppets. Jia used her ability to identify the guards among them. She suggested subduing them first to sort them out. But the protagonist locked her away. To him, only guards needed distinguishing. All prisoners on this floor deserved death. The siblings watched via a crystal ball. They realized he was stronger than their mentor and even Rosa, who captured them. The sister grew scared. The brother comforted her. "Don't worry, he won't kill us easily." After clearing the puppets, the protagonist released Jia. She asked why he did that. He explained it was to execute the prisoners. Jia was displeased. "Guards aren't executioners. Our duty is to reform prisoners." She tried to lecture, but he cut her off coldly. "Enough, I'm tired of that talk." He knew the consequences of chasing ideals. Those beasts won't be grateful. He did what should have been done long ago. Kill those worse than beasts. Jia argued they were still human. Furious, he snapped, "What nonsense. Are they human?" Jia tried to say some had reasons. But he countered, "Everyone has reasons. What about those they killed?" He refused to hear more, threatening to send her away. He'd proceed his way. Facing another puppet wave, Jia identified the guards. As he prepared to execute the prisoners, Jia said, "If Jiang Hao knew, he'd be heartbroken." That remark ignited his fury. He transformed into a monster, his pent-up frustration erupting. He wanted to destroy everything before him. His endless rage was partly vented through their filthy blood. The fifth-floor trio's girl found her chosen man increasingly appealing. The sister trembled in fear, while the brother demanded if he'd spare them. Despite their pitiful appearance, the protagonist felt no sympathy. From the second basement onward, everyone bore countless sins, and he'd offer no choices. The siblings tried to leverage their mentor, his comrade. Even Rosa, who captured them, spared them for their mentor's sake. They offered to undo their powers. If he spared them, he refused outright. Jia urged the siblings to wear collars, but they refused, believing their crimes didn't warrant death. Seeing the protagonist prepare to strike, the siblings pleaded for a chance to explain. Jia also urged peaceful communication, but the protagonist refused to hear their excuses, as their countless killings were undeniable. As he acted, the siblings were bound and lifted into the air. Intending to teach them a lesson to undo their powers, he didn't expect their bodies to start glowing. The siblings called him irrational, not human but a monster. Then they vanished, leaving two unlucky puppets behind. Their special type ability made things slightly troublesome for the protagonist. Irritated not by the puppets but by being repeatedly called a monster, the sister, watching via crystal ball, sweated in fear. The brother, digging at the wall, asked worriedly if she needed help, but she told him to focus on his task. Unable to win Hedon, they planned to escape quickly. The sister fully activated her ability. A massive summoning circle appeared, and countless monsters crawled out. Though stronger than puppets, the protagonist found them easier to handle. As non-humans, he didn't fear harming guards, and no monster survived a single blow. Panicked, the sister, seeing her summoned pets destroyed, urged her brother, who needed 10 more minutes. Biting her finger in desperation, she tried to buy time. But a violent tremor hit, and with a bang, the cell's ceiling was kicked open. They turned in disbelief to see the protagonist before them. Realizing capturing them would end it all, he took a shortcut. He gave them one last chance to undo their powers for a less painful death. Terrified but defiant, the siblings refused to surrender. The brother extended his hands, summoning massive arrays that called forth the 4 archangels. Yet, even this couldn't withstand the protagonist's casual kick. They turned in disbelief. Could a human do this? Desperate, the brother summoned all controlled guards as hostages. threatening to kill them if the protagonist approached, but he froze, hearing his sister scream. Turning, he saw her bound. The protagonist coldly warned, "Release the guards, or your sister dies painfully." As he spoke, the sister screamed in pain. "Brother, it hurts seeing her suffer." The brother broke. Kneeling, he agreed to undo their powers. Begging for his sister's release, they also requested to speak with Jia. The protagonist coldly demanded they undo their powers first. Under pressure, they complied. All guards and prisoners returned to normal. Before the prisoners could react, the protagonist executed them. He told the remaining guards to leave. Keeping his promise, he let the siblings see Jia, but in a different place, as the scene wasn't suitable for a pregnant woman. Releasing Jia, he told her the siblings had words for her before their death. Jia pleaded for their lives, suggesting control devices, but the protagonist glared darkly. "Don't make me repeat myself." Frightened, Jia fell silent. The siblings asked Jia, "Did we really commit such grave sins? Our crimes aren't that bad, right? Say something." The protagonist told Jia to answer briefly. Looking at the clinging siblings, Jia remained silent, unable to speak. The siblings stared at guard Jia in disbelief, confused, insisting they had no ill intent. Unmoved, the protagonist, having kept his promise, began their execution. The brother held his sobbing sister, staring desperately at the protagonist, but found no mercy. He threw a punch, a deafening roar erupting. But his expression changed as a massive figure appeared. Shielding them, the siblings stared in shock at the familiar figure, their teacher. The protagonist, equally stunned, muttered, "Magged." He couldn't believe it. Could the twins summon such a phantom? He quickly realized their defense couldn't be that strong. Only one possibility remained. Magged himself had used his ability. The protagonist didn't understand why, even for his former disciples. But it changed nothing. If one strike failed, he'd strike again. Under the siblings' terrified gazes, he punched again, shattering the barrier like glass. But more defensive arrays activated. Furious, he cursed, "That damned old man, what did he do and why?" He relentlessly destroyed Mag's barriers. The protected brother clung to his near-unconscious sister. A discomfort grew in the protagonist's heart. Mag was his senior when he was a hero, fostering many homeless children. His team often played with the kids, but the protagonist always felt out of place. During those times, Mag would talk to him alone. Hearing he and his brother depended on each other, Mag offered to let him act spoiled. The protagonist refused, but white hair ruined those happy days. That day, blood tears streamed from his eyes. Even in his final moments, Mag comforted him, "Don't be sad, it'll pass." Mechanically, he struck Mag's barriers until only one remained. He stopped, wanting to understand Mag's reason. Releasing Jia, he asked her to read Mag's memories to see what the old man was thinking. 3 cute memory figures appeared, but the protagonist called them creepy, instantly deflating their cheer. Curious why the siblings' memories were included, Jia explained Mag had used his ability on them, not her doing. The protagonist didn't care. Their story wouldn't stop their execution. Tiny Mag sadly hugged his disciples. At an ability user auction, special and physical types were prized. The siblings, hiding their powers, went unsold for long. Until a woman bought them. She wanted them, able to summon angels and demons, to see what their mating would produce. Too young to understand, they sensed it was bad. Then, an explosion rocked the auction. The venue was obliterated, but barriers protected those inside. Mag and his aide, Lifts, came to rescue the captured ability users. The siblings stared in awe at the sky. Mag sent the bidders away and freed the captives. As they prepared to leave, the siblings nervously stopped him, noting he was a summoner like them. They revealed their summoning ability, asking to be taken along. Mag paused and asked to see their powers. They summoned an angel and demon. Intrigued by their unique summons, Mag happily took them as disciples, training them for 3 years. Summoning relies on imagination, allowing varied or specialized abilities. Magt wondered which path they'd take. Their interest in heaven and hell surprised him. Their mother's dying words, "Good people go to heaven, evil to hell," drove them. They vowed to follow her, sending the good to paradise and the evil to hell, to set the world right. Magt, unaware of the gravity, was pleased by their kindness. But the Hero Association called Magt away to hunt a criminal for a long period. The siblings begged him to stay or take them. The enemy was too dangerous, so Magt refused. The sister cried, fearing abandonment, unable to change his decision. Magt gifted them his ability for protection and arranged a safe haven, urging them to be good. Trauma made them wary of others, so they skipped the haven, honing their powers in seclusion. To be good for Magt, they pondered good and evil, defining their own standards over 2.5 years. Returning to their hometown, they used their powers to send the good to paradise and the evil to hell, creating their imagined heaven and hell at age 11. This became their exclusive domain. They summoned angels and demons to monitor villagers' actions. Over a month, they judged who deserved heaven or hell. Their criteria were their mother's childhood rules: no stealing, lying, littering, or fighting. These naive ideas, being so innocent, were terrifying. Even those meeting their standards weren't spared, trapped in a heavenly dream forever. Thus, two 11-year-olds turned their hometown into a twisted Eden. The incident was soon reported to the Hero Association. President Yutori called a meeting. Only 3 heroes attended, showing the president's limited influence. She shared data on the young siblings. 2 heroes debated sparing them briefly, but, learning they were Magt's disciples, suggested he handle it. They backed off immediately. A silent woman raised her hand. "Can I take this mission?" Third-tier hero Kido rode her beloved motorcycle to the siblings' hometown. Marveling at the sky's dense halos, she called it spectacular. The siblings spotted the intruder via their crystal ball. Unfazed despite being noticed, Kido casually took photos. She noted the villagers weren't dead. Sensing something, she turned sharply. The siblings had possessed puppets to confront her. They nervously demanded her purpose. Kido's eyes sparkled. What a convenient ability. The brother demanded answers, no nonsense. She countered, "Does your teacher know your special type? You didn't tell him, right? He only takes summoners." Shaken, the brother demanded, "Who are you?" Kido introduced herself as their senior, claiming Magt mentored her. Skeptical. They knew only lifts as a senior. She admitted focusing on sharp objects, neglecting defense magic, and being abandoned. Her twisted expression ranted, "Too much." Her madness scared the young siblings. Shockingly, she summoned countless weapons aimed at them. Panicked, the brother shielded his sister, urging her to act. Kido attacked, killing surrounding villagers. She did it to make Magt remember her. Back in their bodies, the siblings stared in horror at the crystal ball. What is this? Kido, having killed many, felt exhilarated. Craving more, she approached them. She wanted even more chaos. Blocked by their barrier, she reached them. Praising their defense, she urged better offense, slicing a sneaking puppet in half. She longed for a place to unleash her powers fully. Doing so as a hero would get her punished. She marveled that someone had set her stage, knowing the villagers lived. In a frenzy, she raised her hands, fully activating her ability. A colossal art knife pierced the clouds. Descending ecstatic, she shouted, "I did it. I've never seen anything so big, so cool. All thanks to you too." Reaching to finish them, she didn't notice the danger behind. A massive mouth swallowed her, leaving only an arm. The brothers stared in shock at the sudden giant monster. Kido's demonic actions had pushed the fragile sister to her limit. Blood tears streamed as she blackened, her powers surging. The brother turned worriedly to her. Regaining herself, she cried, "Did I just kill someone?" He hugged her tightly. "No, you killed a demon, not a person." Magt returned to the Hero Association a year later. By then, the siblings had expanded their Eden. Reading reports, Magd couldn't believe what happened. He rushed to them but was stopped by the president. Magd hadn't killed the criminal as tasked, handing them to the government instead. Refusing to back down, he insisted on going. The president, resolute, smashed a stone table. Magd stood firm, a rays swirling around him. As a fight loomed, a voice interrupted. Third-tier hero Rosa offered to take the mission. The president agreed, promising a rank-up. Magd objected. But Rosa approached him. She said only, "Please trust me." Rosa arrived at the siblings' Eden. They immediately noticed the intruder, possessing puppets to confront her, demanding her identity and purpose. Rosa introduced herself as a hero, there to take them away. The word hero triggered them. The sister summoned countless monsters. She furiously demanded Rosa leave or face hell. Rosa gently agreed but insisted on taking them. Her words made the monsters vanish in golden light, without her moving. The vast power gap left them despairing. Approaching, Rosa sensed their kindness, as their attacks lacked killing intent. She regretted that meeting a kind hero first could have prevented this. She told them their actions were wrong, and their teacher was heartbroken. Shocked by news of their teacher, they gaped. Was he back? Or was she lying? Rosa gently urged them, "Undo your powers and return to your teacher." Feeling her warmth, they reached out. The three figures merged in embrace. Emerging, the siblings saw their waiting teacher. They rushed into his arms. The brother, crying, confessed their special type ability, apologizing for hiding it, thinking Magd only took summoners. Magd, puzzled, denied saying that and asked who told them. Hearing a hero named Kido claim to be his disciple, Magd froze, clarifying he had only them and Lifts as disciples. He'd only guided Kido once. Stunned, the siblings realized their long-held fear was baseless. Magd learned of their efforts to be good over the years. He asked Rosa to entrust them to him, but she refused. Though children, the law was the law, and reforming criminals wasn't a hero's job. Yet, Rosa saw the world's flaws. She invited Magd to join her in changing it. Moved by her resolve, Magd agreed to be her partner. He'd protect his disciples, ensuring no one could kill them. They'd work to change the world before the siblings reached adulthood. Silent after the memories, the protagonist recalled Rosa inviting him to heroism with "Want to change the world?" Jia urged him to spare the siblings. Though he admits they're guilty, they merely lack proper guidance. But the protagonist, uninterested in his nonsense, traps him with a single gesture. Then, he coldly approaches the sibling pair. The sturdy brother clutches his sister, loudly begging the protagonist to spare them. All they receive is silence. In that moment, they're terrified, screaming for their teacher in panic. As the protagonist unleashes a furious strike, the entire prison shakes with unprecedented tremors. Yet, the punch doesn't hit the siblings, the ground absorbs it all. Burning with rage, the protagonist recalls that woman who had the resolve to change the world but achieved nothing. As for the two before him, he's momentarily unsure how to deal with them. That dilemma vanishes quickly, as the siblings are torn apart the next moment. A shocking scene that deeply rattles him. Laughter echoes as three figures appear out of nowhere. The protagonist remains unresponsive, staring blankly at the blood rain and the siblings' tattered clothes. An overwhelming sense of despair surges within him. Truly, this is a rotten world. At that moment, a girl steps forward, asking, "What's troubling you?" "My husband," she confesses boldly, only to be met with a fist full of killing intent. Because she just killed the underage siblings, though unsurprisingly, her lackey easily blocks the punch. The girl yelps, about to introduce herself again, but the protagonist breaks through the defense, his fist aiming for her face. Unfazed by the merciless strike, she simply raises a hand. A square barrier instantly deflects his attack. Under his icy gaze, she reintroduces herself. "I'm Shinka, a special type space manipulator." Shinka shares the same goal as the slain siblings to create an Eden for a new human world. but one exclusively for ability users. She believes humanity is degenerating and will face extinction if this continues. The culprits aren't villains or heroes, but ordinary people living without abilities. Only superior genes deserve to reproduce, she claims. Yet, protecting ordinary people leads to the deaths of the exceptional, allowing inferior genes to proliferate. Like Hero Rose's team, so outstanding, who should have survived by natural law, but for protecting mere commoners, they all perished. To change this, they must eliminate heroes who hinder human evolution and all inferior humans, creating a world where only the powerful thrive. Old Wan applauds this logic, making his dream of granting everyone powers seem saintly by comparison. The protagonist feels exhausted, mentally drained. He never expected to encounter such a deranged woman now. Shinka disagrees, believing herself the most rational person alive, a view her two followers strongly endorse. She invites the protagonist to join their group, where she'd be Eve and he Adam, creating the finest new humans together. She kindly explains her primary target was actually Whitehair, whom they saved using an EMP. Sadly, he's still a minor, unfit for such a grand role. So, clever Shinka devised a perfect solution. The protagonist would be Adam until Whitehair comes of age. Then she'd work with him to continue humanity. By then, her chosen two could set aside grudges and become a loving family. After all this, Shinka asks if he understands. The protagonist grasps only one thing: the EMP attack's mastermind was them. Right? Startled, Shinka recalls that his brother died because of it. She brushes it off, saying she can give him a new family. Smiling, she asks, "So, have you decided?" He replies coldly, "Decided? I made my choice long ago. I'll tear you apart and reduce you to ashes." His frenzied demeanor alarms Shinka's lackeys, sensing trouble, but Shinka remains unconcerned. After all, isn't bickering normal for lovers? It helps them understand each other better. Just moments ago, he tore through a spatial block barehanded. Yet Shinka stays calm even as his murderous fist nears her face. She merely raises a hand. A spatial portal opens between them, teleporting the unprepared protagonist outside Lucullus' prison. Coming to. He glances coldly aside, spotting Shinka hovering in midair. She tells him to cool off outside and vanishes, but he feels chillingly calm. Like a meteor crashing, he returns, causing the prison to quake violently. The supposedly indestructible prison, unyielding even to the trio, finally cracks open, and he successfully returns to his original spot. Shinka exclaims in awe at his feat, but he's done with talk, throwing a punch without hesitation. The trio teleports away instantly. His black flashing kick follows, but they vanish again, leaving the ground to take the blow. They reappear behind him. Shinka seems to enjoy this hide-and-seek game. Deciding to get serious, he activates Mob Wan, his hands morphing into claws. Shinka's eyes widen, calling it cool, but his ruthless claw slashes toward her though she dodges. Her reappearance shows slight panic. She shouts for him to stop, but his claws are already at her face despite her repeated teleports. She can't escape his near-instantaneous speed. Finally, his pursuit corners her, and she panics completely at the critical moment. Kate, with cat-like eyes, leaps onto his back. Kate meows cutely from behind Shinka, thrilled, scolds, "Why interfere? If he catches you, you're dead." With a thud, he slams Kate to the ground, grinding her mercilessly. Then again, for good measure, the other two watch calmly from a spatial hideout. When he stops, nothing remains. Certain he's eliminated her, Kate's voice rings out again. A new Kate appears beside Shinka. "See? I told you, getting caught means death. Truly worthy of the name Kate. 9 lives, perhaps?" Kate asks Miss Shinka what's next, eyeing the protagonist's unyielding stance. Shinka sighs helplessly, tears streaming. Such precious genes, must it come to this? Unmoved, he grows even more resolute. Activating Mode 5, countless electric orbs swirl around him. Realizing words are futile, Shinka unleashes her full power, deploying multidimensional spaces. Dozens of spatial portals open, and voices emerge from each. This ultimate summoning stuns even him. A aggrieved Shinka urges him to greet them, declaring they'll now rule humanity. First to step out is Edward, hunted by Magritte for years. He can't accept that death, believing it was his task to complete. 9 others from the 3rd basement level follow. Then 5 from the 4th and finally 2 from the 5th. All living prisoners except an old man kicked Waknoshir are now gathered. Seeing an old acquaintance, Whitehair cheerfully greets him the moment he spots him. The protagonist's killing intent erupts. He's barely human now, activating Mode 0, his savage aura soars. Whitehair, thrilled, matches his monstrous presence. Facing the charging protagonist, he opens his arms joyfully, unfazed. Let's play happily together again. Their ice and fire clash reverberates through the prison. Alarmed guards urge the warden to retreat. The warden, terrified, never expected this chaos. Their first clash ends in a draw. Whitehair's prowess amazes. Their brutal combat awes onlookers. The 3rd and 4th basement prisoners were captured by Rose's team. But they've never seen the protagonist fight like this. Now they understand why Saint Rosa always stopped him. Everyone seeing him feels it. Death, this is what death looks like. It's utterly mesmerizing. Some feel awe, others jealousy. What kind of power is this? Shinka, heartbroken, laments, why can't you get along? Only Whitehair beams with joy, having found his kin in this monstrous man. He wonders why the protagonist didn't show this form in their last fight. Ignoring chatter, the protagonist aims a lethal punch at his head. Whitehair grins. Got more tricks up your sleeve. Countless attacks rain down on the protagonist from nowhere. He's blasted back, slightly disadvantaged in this first exchange. What's fatal to others is a scratch to him. Steadying himself, he charges again. His fist stops short before Whitehair, blocked by an invisible film. Whitehair had compressed the space in front of him. A deafening boom sends the protagonist flying again. Whitehair's display shocks the prisoner audience. So young, yet what a monster he'll become. Despite gaining the upper hand twice, Whitehair knows these attacks won't fell him. Sure enough, a brutal punch lands on his face. Blood sprays from Whitehair's mouth. Showing no mercy, the protagonist slams another fist into his stomach. A thunderous roar accompanies Whitehair's flight backward. Watching their clash, 2 criminals above marvel, what monsters. Unaware he loathes being called a monster, their heads are crushed before they realize. Next is Edward, whom Magritte hunted for years. Edward uses Magritte's defensive magic, revealing his ability to steal powers. Not stopping there, he dares to taunt the protagonist. Feeling nostalgic seeing your old teammate's magic? With a slight push, the protagonist shatters the barrier. Facing his raw power, Edward seethes with envy. Why isn't this strength mine? As Edward falters, Shilua from the 4th basement kicks the protagonist away and scathed. Shilua just wants to play with him. Yet, sensing the protagonist's monstrous form hides more power, Shilua suspects his hero and guard roles constrained him. How can this be allowed? Whitehair aims to create an unbound playground for them. Clenching his fist, his ability activates. The prison quakes under horrified gazes. The impregnable fortress begins collapsing from within. Whitehair does this to free the protagonist from all restraints. For an unbridled, exhilarating fight, the warden, stunned, questions his reality. They face being buried alive. Suddenly, dark red blood shadows shield the surviving guards, including the warden, transforming them into crimson meteors soaring skyward. Whitehair admires his work, noting the prison's sturdy build, no corners cut. Snapping back, he sees the protagonist charging, fist clenched. A spatial portal opens before Whitehair, teleporting the protagonist elsewhere. Whitehair's ability stirred too much dust, so Shinka wanted a change of venue. Then, Taesai from the 4th basement picks up a stone, activating her ability. Shinka watches, puzzled by her intent. The stone transforms into a razor-sharp blade in Taesai's hand. Taesai swings it at a steel gate. The strike tears a spatial rift, shattering the gate. Shinka's eyes widen in awe, gasping, but she quickly opens a portal to regroup, asking why Taesai wasted energy. Her lackeys stare at Taisai like she's foolish, their silence speaking volumes. Meanwhile, the protagonist finds himself on a bustling street. Onlookers gawk at the sudden stranger, curious about him. Another portal opens beneath him. He vanishes instantly, stunning the crowd. Reappearing, a massive celestial orb hovers above him. Whitehair's doing, no doubt. Spotting him, Whitehair utters a single word. Boom, the giant orb shatters. An unstoppable shockwave surges toward him. When the dust settles, only a circular crater remains. Whitehair descends, finding the protagonist kneeling. That impact wall injured even him, tearing parts of his beastly facade. Others watch from a distance. Shinka warns everyone not to interfere. The third and fourth basement prisoners obey Shinka, swayed by their universal human desires. She successfully recruited them into her alpha world. Of course, a few rebels voiced objections. Shinka found it regrettable, but refusal meant death. When it was Whitehair's turn, hearing they wanted a new human world with Shinka marrying the protagonist then him, he laughed until he cried. Such interesting people. Shinka was pleased he thought so. But to Whitehair, women were irrelevant, only the protagonist brought him joy. Shinka tensed, urging him to think long-term, not chase fleeting thrills. If the protagonist died, what fun would remain? Whitehair didn't care, he'd likely die too. Speechless, Shinka offered a better idea. If she had a child with the protagonist first, then one with him, Whitehair would have two fun toys. As he matured, his strength would grow, making fights with the protagonist even better. Shinka promised he'd never be bored with them. Her pitch won him over. But Whitehair had one issue: he didn't love her. How could they marry? Naive Whitehair, marriage doesn't need love. Confident, Shinka believed he'd fall for her eventually. Back to now, the protagonist lands another brutal punch on Whitehair's stomach. Whitehair is blasted back, spitting blood. His tough body takes it as a minor injury. Wiping blood from his mouth, he feels one hand isn't enough. He wants the protagonist to speak. Will he stay silent, or can't he talk in this state? For a little provocation, Whitehair raises a flesh orb. Know what this is? Your brother. Instantly, the protagonist's rage skyrockets, his sanity snapping. Blood tears stream as he roars like a wounded beast, charging. Whitehair gestures, raising countless stones that sharpen into blades aimed at him. Unfazed, he smashes the stones with a punch, but his fist halts abruptly. His brother's form floats before him. In that split-second distraction, he's blasted back. Catching the orb, Whitehair laughs maniacally. You can't attack this, can you? Right? I got a great idea. If I eat it, you can't attack me, right? It's a bit big to swallow, I'll compress it. Before he acts, the protagonist's kick slams into his chest. Whitehair spits blood again, then takes a heavy punch to the face. One hit isn't enough, another follows, shaking the heavens. Onlooking prisoners watch calmly. It's not them getting hit, but Whitehair won't yield. He grabs the protagonist's arm, choking him. A white light flashes as Whitehair's ability triggers. A white beam shoots skyward. The stunning scene captivates all. Shinka finds it beautiful. If only they could reconcile. Her lackey deems it impossible. Another agrees, sensing the fight's end nearing. Whitehair's move was indeed formidable. The protagonist's energy cloak is shattered. Whitehair fares no better. He can't stand anymore. The protagonist rises, trembling. Whitehair's eyes widen in shock. Countless dark red blood shadows writhe around him, alive. Prisoners outside stare in disbelief. What is that? The blood shadows weave a scarlet canopy, trapping them inside. Whitehair laughs wildly. How many skills do you have? What an unfathomable man. He's curious how it feels for the protagonist to kill. Humans are so fragile, vanishing with a touch. No way to vent your emotions, right? The protagonist tells him to shut up, but Whitehair won't comply. He believes the protagonist can only unleash his full power when fighting him. But with those trash, he has to suppress himself. Of course, the protagonist thinks he doesn't understand what kind of defeat that is. The white-haired guy doesn't get it, but he knows his body has reached its limit. Barring any surprises, He'll face the protagonist's final blow next. Yet he feels no panic, only a slight regret. He wonders if, as Shinka said, he could grow up and defeat the protagonist. The protagonist declares that's impossible, because you'll die here. The next moment, a massive roar echoes. The crimson sky trembles irregularly. Shinka watches, sweating profusely. Unsure what's happening inside, he worries for the white-haired guy's safety and decisively opens a spatial portal. He sees the white-haired guy, pierced by countless blood blades, yet he's still alive. Seeing his dire state, Shinka instantly teleports him out and urgently calls for help. A man with healing abilities plunges his hand into the white-haired guy's chest, performing CPR. Fortunately, the white-haired guy clings to a faint heartbeat. What a terrifying battle instinct. The man heals his wounds while absorbing the protagonist's ability into himself. Looking at the bloodlines coiling around his arm, he feels an unsettling dread. Without hesitation, he severs his own arm. The next moment, a new arm grows back. What now? The group decides to take down the protagonist now, but Shinka hasn't given up. He wants to persuade the protagonist one last time. The protagonist ignores the others. He walks quietly to his brother, holding him in his hands, gazing at him with sorrow. At that moment, Shinka appears before him again. He sincerely urges the protagonist to join them, but the protagonist doesn't seem to be listening. Shinka genuinely doesn't understand why. The next moment, the protagonist is attacked by Edward, who wields power rivaling his own. Since negotiations failed, Edward aims to kill him before he recovers. This decision is unanimously supported by the 3rd and 4th level prisoners. Though regrettable, they fear the protagonist alive more. The attack begins with a colossal faceless man. He swings a fist at the protagonist, who only clutches his brother, refusing to let go. The 3rd and 4th level prisoners unleash a full assault after an unknown time. The attacks stop, yet the protagonist never defends himself. Remarkably, he looks unscathed. As if their attacks didn't even scratch him, his only use of power was to shield his brother. The faceless man foolishly attempts a final blow, thinking one kick will finish him, but it won't. The kick never lands, as the awakened white-haired guy blocks it. He shouts at Shinka, "Didn't you say I'd grow stronger as an adult? This is the first dream I've ever had, so don't kill him, I'll do it myself." Edward wants to argue, "No more nonsense, we must kill him now," but Shinka speaks up. "Everyone, let's go back." Excitedly, he reminds them, "You promised to follow my lead." The group falls silent, no longer objecting. Shinka opens a spatial portal for everyone to leave. When it's the white-haired guy's turn, Shinka eagerly runs to take credit. But the white-haired guy ignores the beauty before him, his eyes fixed on the protagonist. "Next time we meet, I'll be the victor." The protagonist is spared, though they likely couldn't have defeated him anyway. This incident saw 8 3rd level, 4 4th level, and 3 5th level prisoners escape. This might be good for the protagonist, as eliminating them all would make him the ultimate villain. The world is about to get noisier. As the old man watching the show said, soon, Shinka will upend the world. Just now, Shinka delivered a stunning global speech. He'll create a new world. Welcome to the Alpha world. He introduces his 2 assistants, Kainis and Kate. So, what is the Alpha world? It's a world built to save fallen humanity. Led by Miss Shinka as humanity's savior who qualifies to join? To enter the new world, 3 conditions must be met. First, you must have powerful abilities. Second, you must not shelter inferior humans. Finally, you must be healthy and fertile. Shinka believes those with inferior genes are criminals by existing and must face execution. Those not chosen will be killed in the next month. Invitations will be sent to qualified humans. Refusing marks you as an outcast, subject to execution. Choose wisely. Shinka prays, "May glory belong to the new humanity." Signed, your future savior, Shinka. Bye. After Shinka's speech, a secret meeting room falls silent. This is the World Security Council. Shinka's profile is presented to the council's leaders. They can't believe it. Right after Rosa and the heroes died, this happens. This should be the top priority. But before diving in, some want to defend the unjustly killed prisoners. Harmony Party leader Einheit is furious that the rookulous warden gave the protagonist execution rights. He rejects one person's unchecked power to execute, believing it causes chaos and fear what a saintly heart. Of course, some disagree. How can you say such nonsense in this situation? Former Hero Association President Utority firmly supports the warden's choice. Einheit insists he should have reported it. But time was critical and Utority understands why he acted. Utority looks at Justice Minister Elgido between them. Elgido says while he thinks unchecked executions are wrong, the special circumstances make it understandable. The fire chief worries this will harm people. The police chief says it already has. Since the broadcast, public safety is in chaos. The deputy defense minister wonders, does this mean war or just a prison break? Utority slams his fist on the table in anger. Kill those scums and this wouldn't have happened. He points at the young police chief, judging him. This mess is because you hesitated to execute. The chief feels wronged. It wasn't his call. Utority is furious about his replacement, saying he'd have killed them all. He can't understand why heroes can't execute criminals, even when threatened. He believes the world became a mess after Rosa became president, but his words lack support. Most heroes had issues during his tenure. Utority angrily retorts, so what? Keeping them as heroes was better than letting them become villains. Some don't value superficial hero titles. But undeniably, after Rosa's presidency, potential heroes turned villains, causing more issues. The fire chief sternly says, your idea of a hero differs from mine. Utority nearly explodes with rage. You're just dreamers lost in an ideal world, blind to the reality before you. President Bizet interrupts their argument. What would Rosa say if she were here? All eyes turn to the empty chair at the table. The meeting ends. Utority leaves in his private car. Disappointed, he doesn't understand why they waste time on useless debates. Killing them all would have solved it. This is Rosa's fault, that saint. Since Rosa became Hero Association president, 4, including her, supported reformism, while only 2, including Utority, backed harsh punishment. 1 stayed neutral, making it 4-2. Their opinions were ignored, even by the current president, who leaned toward Rosa. But now the Hero Association presidency is vacant. Finding an ally for that seat would balance the scales, giving their opinions weight. So he's off to meet the former hero, Su Jianglius. He's sure others are already making their moves. Though Su Jianglius was once close to Rosa, things are different now, aren't they? He urges the driver to hurry to Su Jianglius. The protagonist lies motionless on a hospital bed, receiving treatment that likely won't help much. His heart is broken, and he's lost the will to live. If he could pull himself together, he might instantly recover fully. Why can't heroes kill criminals? When he first became a hero, Su Jianglius always wondered this. He sought answers from teammates, but they all had saintly tendencies. They even asked why he felt the need to kill. Rosa told him a hero's duty is to save, not kill, believing he'd understand someday. But before that day came, they paid the price for their choices. Even after this tragedy, some still dream of reforming criminals. Even the white-haired guy finds this laughable. After all this, some are still so naive. The protagonist wakes from a nightmare, gasping to ease his stifled heart. A voice beside him says, "You're awake, Su Jianglius." It's Rivers, Margot's top disciple and an old acquaintance. Seeing his state, Rivers asks if he's okay. He apologizes for not helping earlier. He knew about the prison incident but didn't expect it to be so severe. The protagonist says it's fine, you wouldn't have helped anyway. Unfazed by the blunt reply, Rivers doesn't get angry. Instead, he worries if the protagonist is truly okay. He heard about his prison mission. The protagonist feels terrible because he failed to kill all the criminals. He's deeply unwilling. Looking at Rivers, he asks, "Are you here to tell me not to kill them? If so, leave. I'm no longer a hero." Rivers falls silent, then explains. They're forming a new hero association, with him as interim president. He's here to invite the protagonist to join. But the protagonist has no interest. He's already said he's no hero. Once he recovers, he'll do what he must. Rivers tries to persuade him, but a voice interrupts. Well said, Hero Sujianglius. It's Utority, the former Hero Association president, who admires his actions and sympathizes with his ordeal. He assures him it won't happen again as the next president. He'll grant Hero's execution rights. Rivers is shocked. You're a World Party rep, what nonsense is this? Utority says he'll resign to run for president. He initially came to ask if the protagonist wanted the role. But now it's just a greeting. He wishes the protagonist a speedy recovery and leaves. Panicked, Rivers shouts, you think anyone will vote for you? Utority grins, let's wait and see. Seeing things unravel, Rivers tries to speak to the protagonist. But the protagonist, exhausted, coldly asks him to leave. Rivers stands stunned, unable to fathom how things reached this point. Utority returns to his car. As expected, everyone's vying for the protagonist. Since the emergence of ability users, the world-changed organizations overly rely on powerful individuals. The World Security Council may debate the protagonist's executions and whether he should have that right. Even Utority admits, legally, the protagonist's actions are wrong. But if the law says so, just change it. At the next summit, the Harmony Party leader still pursues the warden's fault for granting execution rights. Someone retorts, wasn't it a special case? In times like this, turn a blind eye. The ideal-obsessed Harmony leader roars, but Utority cuts him off. No effective solutions, just spouting useless ideals. Einheit claims he proposed a solution. Heroes only capture criminals for legal judgment. The police chief never agreed to Utority. It's a colossal joke. As tempers flare, the president asks, what's your proposal? Utority is ready. Let's hold a vote. Let the people decide if the protagonist should have execution rights. They can amend the law to settle this debate. Utority proposes a national vote. They serve the people who have the right to decide. But some quickly oppose the idea. Einheit calls majority voting too dangerous. Utority glares, are you ignoring the people? He knows why Einheit objects. He'd lose a public vote ignoring the incompetent fool. Utority turns, am I wrong, President? All eyes turn to the president as his words land. After a pause, the president decides, fine, a national vote. 2 weeks later, the results are in. 88 voted yes, 12 no, an overwhelming majority. Utority smirks at Einheit, as expected. Supporters see the situation as a declaration of war. Since they've forsaken humanity, they don't deserve legal protection. The root cause is chasing ideals. Thus, not just the protagonist but all heroes should have execution rights. Opponents worry if Sujianglius, in his current state, can judge rationally. Granting individuals execution rights risks repeating past hero issues. If personal judgment overrides law, society could collapse. Einheit wants to accommodate the opposition to satisfy everyone. This draws Utority's furious glare. If we satisfy everyone, what's the point of this landslide vote? The president interrupts them. He wants to meet the protagonist and hear his opinion. The protagonist arrives at the president's office. As a warden, the president greets the familiar stranger. Long time no see. Sujianglius, he asks if he's heard the news. He wants his thoughts. The protagonist, unsurprisingly, says, per the vote, he'll execute personally. The president expected this. But he asks, if the vote went the other way, what would you do? The protagonist doesn't hesitate. I'd eliminate them all, then turn myself in. The president understands his resolve. Still, he asks, what would Rosa do? The protagonist clenches his fist. Ask her yourself. Alright, when this is over, will you return as a hero? I don't know, he replies coldly, turning to leave. The special law for the protagonist passes. The president announces it at a press conference. To counter imminent terror, Sujianglius is granted execution rights as a warden. Utority watches the broadcast excitedly on his phone. A great start. He'll set heroes back on track. While some rejoice, others grieve. Rivers watches silently. The protagonist's sister-in-law holds her brother's ashes, listening to the news. Tears stream down, her heart filled with sorrow. Who knows if she'd still plead for death row inmates again? Meanwhile, Xinghai's group watches the broadcast, unfazed. So, are you ready? Dear Death Row inmates, soon after, blue circles appear in Spain and Portugal. People receive New World invitations, and word quickly reaches the world government. But they're powerless to act. It's a sunny day. People stroll leisurely on the streets. Suddenly, disaster strikes. A massive magic circle appears in the sky. The next moment, peace shatters with deafening explosions among the crowd. The attacker is Edward, whom authority once ordered Margaret to kill. Authority's judgment was spoton. As Edward steps forward, death row inmates emerge from spatial portals behind him. Facing Edward's indiscriminate assault, someone objects, "What if some victims received invitations?" Edward scoffs, "If they die this easily, what right do they have to an invitation?" Meanwhile, Xingka reappears, greeting the world again. "Foolish humans, hello, I'm Xingka. From now on, we'll eliminate inferior genes." The death row inmates are already sharpening their blades. High-ranking officials can only watch helplessly. The protagonist solemnly dons his sacred attire. Now begins the hunt. Recently, Xingka's followers started culling inferior humans. The Heroes Association quickly mobilizes nearby heroes to respond. But former President Authority holds no hope. Even now, over half here insist on not killing them. The president makes a call. Fine, the fire department will prioritize civilian rescue. The military and police will protect civilians. The police chief frowns. We lack the power to stop them anyway. In the end, we'll need heroes' help, right? Ignoring the complaints, the president asks where the protagonist is. He's already left after watching the broadcast. Einheit objects, we haven't even expelled him yet. But his barking goes ignored. The president only wants to know their true goal, so what is it? Xingka answers, execute the unselected. And help the chosen join the alpha world. They'll start slowly, offering incentives to make joining appealing for invitees. Their primary goal now is recruitment. Execution comes second. Unselected can be dealt with any time. Xingka leaves, and her team splits up. Some genuinely want to fulfill her mission. Others aim to destroy everything around them. Edward just wants to act freely. He doesn't care if someone snitches later to him. It's no different from prison. Everything around him is so annoying. No matter how much he destroys, his power doesn't grow. Accursed talent, he knew it from the start. As Edward ponders, giant rabbit horns descend from the sky. They crash down on his position. Unfazed, Edward summons a protective magic circle in front of him. He looks up, surprised. A bunny girl appears midair, her voice ringing out. "You haven't changed a bit, learned nothing in prison?" Edward knows her well. She played a part in his imprisonment. "Rivers, did you give Margaret a grand funeral?" Elsewhere, at a superhuman academy, kids fear the outside chaos. The teacher reassures them, promising to protect them no matter what. He leads them to a shelter, but then, applause echoes from behind, and the kids turn. A twin-tailed girl in a dress sits on a desk. Clapping, she praises the teacher's dedication. The kids scream, scrambling behind the teacher in panic. Annoyed by the noise, the girl glares. The teacher stands firm, ready to fight. She knows the girl's identity. She received an invitation. The girl brushes it off, telling her not to fear. She's here to take her to the new world. The teacher staunchly protects the kids, refusing to leave. The girl finds her foolish, daring to interrupt her speech. You need a lesson in ideals. Recently, Moraes invaded a superhuman academy. This academy was founded by Rosa and Margaret after the twin siblings incident. Hero teachers guide kids to integrate into society and control their powers. Today, its peace was shattered. Facing uncooperative teachers and students, Moraes activates her power, etiquette. This ability restricts or harms those she deems beneath her status. The teacher and kids are silenced. Moraes warns the teacher against tricks, threatening instant death. She orders the 3 invited kids to step forward. These kids are special ability users with great potential. Releasing their restraints, she asks if they'll join the Queen's new world. One kid asks, "Is the Queen that super pretty lady on TV?" Moraes, hopeful, smiles and praises the queen's virtues. But the kid bluntly refuses. The sudden rejection stuns Moraes. She doubts her ears. The kid explains, "Didn't she say she'd kill all normal people? But I have lots of non-powered friends." The other two agree. Their parents and loved ones are ordinary. Their teacher taught them not to discriminate or hate those who are different. Using powers to threaten others makes you a bad person. The kid's words are noble, but the corrupt adult won't hear it. Since they refuse, Moraes sees no reason for them to live. Her power envelopes the kids' necks. Barring miracles, they'll be executed. But they're unharmed. The teacher absorbs the damage onto herself. Her power bodyguard redirects attacks from others to herself. Moraes realizes why Miss Shinka invited her. Such a bodyguard would vastly boost her safety. Killing her would be a waste. The teacher tries to reason, knowing Moraes' painful past, but Moraes cuts her off. Moraes guesses who leaked her history. She won't discuss her past with outsiders. She reiterates, "I'm here on the Queen's orders to recruit for the Alpha world. Abandon the kids, and I'll spare you." A teacher would never abandon her students. Moraes can't fathom her stubbornness. The reason's simple: I'm a teacher. Profi was once an overlooked hero in the association. Her defense could withstand most attacks, but she lacked offensive power. Under authority, she was sidelined. He saw no need for a hero who only takes hits. That changed when Rosa took over. When Rosa approached, Profi feared dismissal, as her powers weren't heroic, but Rosa disagreed. She called Profi the greatest hero, willing to sacrifice her life for teammates. Convinced by Rosa, Profi became a teacher for superpowered kids. Back to now, Moraes has an idea. She offers to spare everyone if Profi convinces her students to join, but Profi won't yield. The world's always changing. Ability users once collapsed social order. Countless sacrifices stabilized it. If that madwoman succeeds, society will collapse again. Moraes snaps, "Don't insult the queen. It's just an excuse to reject her offer." Profi insists it matters. If it collapses, more kids will suffer like Moraes did. Mentioning her past again, Moraes rages. Clearly, it's a sore memory. She points furiously, "Don't make me laugh, you know nothing." Her power activates, summoning giant iron rods from the sky. They pin the teacher and kids to the ground. Children's pained cries echo around them. Moraes, fury maxed, gives up, persuading "You all die." At the critical moment, a foot stomps her head, slamming her to the ground. A hero arrives. The teacher and kids gape in shock. Moraes grits her teeth, glaring at her assailant. The protagonist coldly stares at the escaped convict. Third floor inmate Moraes, "Call that madwoman here." Enraged at the insult to her queen, Moraes burns with anger. "Rude bastard, pay for your sins." She activates her power. Chains materialize, binding the protagonist. A massive guillotine looms above him. Facing a deadly trap, the protagonist's expression doesn't flicker. He clenches his fist lightly. Instantly, chains and guillotine shatter. Without mercy, he lands a brutal punch square on Moraes' face. The teacher and students watch, stunned. The protagonist tells his old ally Profi to take the kids and leave. Profi says the kids are still under Moraes' power. No problem, he can't dispel it, but he can deal with the caster. His fist slams into Moraes' chest, shaking the room violently. Moraes collapses unconscious. The kids and teacher, amazed, feel her power lift. He urges them to flee far away. Profi hurries the kids out. Alone, the protagonist yanks Moraes up by her collar. "Last time, bring that madwoman here." Reviving, Moraes activates her power again. This time, even the protagonist is slightly surprised. Her power heals his wounds instantly, leaving only a trace of blood at his mouth. His appearance transforms, his true, striking visage revealed. This is his real self. Two puppets restrain him as Moraes retreats. This is Moraes' maid mode. When active, those who see her as a maid serve her and gain her abilities. She doesn't think it'll work on the protagonist. She draws a large circle around herself with an umbrella, then tosses it skyward, summoning a giant protective umbrella. As expected, the protagonist tears the puppets apart. Moraes realizes her life ends here. He can even rip through the queen's space, but she wants to buy time for her allies to return to the queen. The protagonist approaches. You're not bringing her, are you? Moraes smirks. Why reject the queen's selection? Done talking, the protagonist sees no need for her existence. As he moves to strike, Moraes pleads, wait, I'll tell you everything. She's not afraid, just stalling. But he won't give her time. No need. I'll take your body to someone with telepathy. Caught off guard by this, Moraes panics. She wonders what he'll do even if he finds their base. She doubts he can kill everyone there. He knows that, but it doesn't matter. Seeing him unmoved, Moraes considers suicide to destroy her body. Before she acts, his iron grip lunges for her face. At the last second, a spatial wall blocks his strike. Shinka arrives just in time. Shinka grins at him. Miss me that much? Changed your mind? Moraes, shocked at her queen's rescue, panics. Why are you here? It's too dangerous. She glances back in alarm. The once normal protagonist is gone. A monster has awakened. Seeing his full power, Shinka gasps in awe. Still haven't changed your mind? You okay? He smashes a gaping hole in Moraes' spatial wall with a furious punch. Roaring, I'll kill you even if it takes everything. Despite his murderous intent, Shinka feels no fear. Instead, she loves his obsessive focus on her. Is this love? Never underestimate an old man. His ordinary punch can't be dodged, even by a spatial queen, yet he's never harmed her. Just now, Shinka appeared, and the protagonist's rage peaked. She tells Moraes to handle her invitees, leaving this to her. Moraes looks at her, worried, about to speak, but the protagonist's merciless punch rockets toward her. Shinka teleports her away in time. Moraes reappears near the escapees, but she's in bad shape. The teleport was a fraction late. His punch grazed half her stomach. Her state terrifies the kids into screams. Though gravely injured, the teacher has no confidence against her. She urges the kids to run even near death. Moraes clings to her mission, trying to stop them. A kid spots something, pointing at the transformed Moraes. He exclaims, that's the person in our textbook. Moraes, baffled, asks what textbook. Next, she'll likely face a conscience awakening. Back to the fight, Shinka marvels at the sky. Dense scarlet threads envelop the area. Unleashing your ultimate move so soon? That's excessive. He's done with probing games. This will be your grave. Shinka remains unbothered. She knows he needs zero mode for this move. She wonders if he's pushing himself too far. His relentless blood shadows stab at her. But they hit him instead. Xing redirects to them via microportals. Sadly, the attacks don't harm him, as she anticipated. Knowing she's outmatched, Shinka calls for backup. Her loyal followers, Canis and Kate, appear beside her. Seeing the familiar blood shadows above, they feel redundant. Who uses their ultimate skill at the start? This is unwinnable. They both agree it's hopeless. Shinka is someone who listens to others' opinions. Since that's the case, let's escape. He waves goodbye to the protagonist. However, when he tries to open a spatial portal again, an unexpected accident occurs as expected. The three of them stare in shock, unable to believe that the spatial transfer has failed. The protagonist gazes at them coldly from across. Didn't I tell you? This place will be your grave. It turns out this crimson cage can seal this space according to the protagonist's will. Once someone enters, they cannot escape. The last time Shinka managed to save the white-haired guy was because he was already outside. But this time is different. When he's inside the cage, he can't leave without the protagonist's permission. Truly a troublesome ability. At that moment, the protagonist swings a fist at the three. Shinka hurriedly raises a spatial barrier to protect them. However, the power gap between them is too vast. With one punch, the spatial barrier shatters. It seems they're trapped in a desperate situation. Yet, Canis and Kate brim with fighting spirit. They beg to have their restraints removed. Shinka hesitates slightly. He promised the white-haired guy that when he grew up, he'd kill the protagonist himself. But in this situation, if they don't kill him, they might not leave alive. Having witnessed the protagonist's strength, they still believe they can kill him. It seems their original powers are far from ordinary. In the end, Shinka reluctantly agrees fine. He thinks the white-haired guy would understand. Just as he's about to release the restraints, the two prepare to tear off their limiters. But the next moment, an immense pressure suddenly weighs down on them. Interrupting their actions, the sudden turn of events makes Shinka break out in a cold sweat. They look up in disbelief. What just happened? Not just them, even the protagonist is stunned. Why is there another presence exerting pressure within his domain? The next moment, both Shinka's group and the protagonist turn in shock to look to one side. An old man appears beside them out of nowhere, the only prisoner Shinka failed to recruit. The old man admires the protagonist. He acknowledges his strength, but says he's not yet the world's strongest. However, if he's willing to follow him, the old man can make him that person. Before the protagonist can respond, Shinka loses his composure. What nonsense are you spouting? He angrily demands where this guy came from, but before he can finish, the old man throws an ordinary punch as expected. Shinka dodges it through space. Reappearing, Shinka is even angrier. Don't interrupt me, the old man laughs. Men are talking, women shouldn't butt in. This makes Shinka feel insulted. She's about to tell him to get lost. But the next moment, delayed pain surges through her body. She spits out a mouthful of blood. Kines and Kate rush forward in panic. Shinka stares in disbelief at the blood in her hands, then feels unprecedented rage. Damn old man. Hearing someone dare curse him, the old man's veins bulge. I'm standing right here, unmoving, a weakling like you can't kill me. Shinka is furious. He'll show this guy. He raises a hand. Countless spatial blades fly toward the old man. But with a deafening explosion, the old man's position is engulfed in a blast. Still unsatisfied, Shinka shouts, "Die, you damned old geezer." But his expression changes as a familiar voice sounds from behind. Oh, really? Shinka turns in disbelief. Swinging a spatial blade behind him, the old man easily dodges. The old man admits Shinka's abilities are strong, even comparable to the white-haired guy, but both share a fatal weakness. With that, he throws another punch, shattering space itself. Shinka is sent flying, crashing hard against the crimson cage's edge, spitting out another mouthful of blood. The old man calmly clenches his fist. You rely too much on your abilities and haven't trained your body. He walks toward the struggling Shinka. Next, he'll show him what true power is. But then, countless spatial portals appear above the old man. The old man glances up expressionlessly. The next second, Kines bursts from a portal, delivering a fierce kick toward the old man. The old man raises an arm to block. The force of the kick catches him off guard. Caught off balance, he's sent flying by the kick. Of course, this only makes the old man more excited. He admits Shinka's two underlings have trained their bodies well. Facing their simultaneous attack, the old man has to get a bit serious, using both hands to deal with them. Shinka grits his teeth, supporting his underlings, though caught off guard by the sudden turn. The protagonist observes the situation. After assessing, he quickly decides his next move: team up with the old man to take down the troublesome woman first. Meanwhile, the World Security Council's higher-ups learn of the old man's appearance. It turns out the protagonist reported this during their fight. Everyone knows the old man's eccentric temperament this time. He's likely found someone interesting. But the president worries if the protagonist is in danger. Others reassure him not to worry. They don't know how strong the old man is, but they know his character. He won't be hostile to the protagonist still. Some people might cause unexpected trouble. They glance at an empty chair, once belonging to Utority, the former Hero Association president. The scene shifts, hearing her name in a textbook. Moraes bursts into loud laughter. Why is my info in a textbook? Her face veins bulge. This is absurd. It's infuriating. Sensing trouble, the teacher quickly explains, it's not just you, all Rookulus prisoners are documented. Moraes grows angrier. Why? To mock the losers? The teacher hurriedly clarifies, of course not, it's to understand you better. This was actually the protagonist's brother's idea. When Rosa and Margot founded the Ability Academy, the protagonist's brother, as a Rookulus guard, approached them and suggested including criminology in the students' curriculum, which they agreed to. Mores finds it absurd. Who wants their privacy exposed to the public? She wants to know what the teacher thinks after reading her past. Before the teacher can respond, a voice interrupts. Profi, why are you chatting with a beast? They turn in shock to see Utority, the former Hero Association president, standing behind them. His appearance signals that this won't end peacefully. Utority is displeased with Profi's actions. Why waste words on a criminal? He tells the children their education has been wrong all along. Seizing the chance, he'll teach them a lesson on what's right. Utority loosens his tie and says, criminals aren't criminals because of their circumstances. Some might say their environment made them criminals. But that's just them trying to gain sympathy. They're criminals because it's their nature. They're societal outcasts like tumors on a human body, and tumors must be completely eradicated. Utority will now demonstrate this to the children. Hearing herself called a tumor, even Mores, who doesn't see herself as good, can't accept it. Is our existence in this world wrong? Utority doesn't want to hear excuses. He cuts her off. I'm tired of your justifications. Even in another era, you'd still be society's trash people like you shouldn't exist. These insulting words enrage Mores. She yells for him to shut up, their eyes locking fiercely. Enough talk. Utority will make her feel the pain of her victims. He pulls an expensive watch from his pocket and solemnly puts it on his right hand. The battle ritual is complete. Everything is ready. Utority checks the time and says, 10 minutes should be enough. Mores doesn't dare let her guard down. She braces for battle, but in an instant, before she can react, Utority appears before her, landing a merciless punch on her wound. Struck hard, Mores spits out blood but grits her teeth, swallowing it back. She retreats, preparing to unleash her ability. Before she can act, Utority's thrust nearly breaks her back. This is just the appetizer. A barrage of fists rains down on her in seconds. Mores loses consciousness. Even so, Utority doesn't stop. He grabs her head and slams his knee into her forehead. The blow shatters her teeth, scattering them. Utority looks at her coldly. Feel the pain yet? We were too lenient with you. Before another knee to her face. Enduring immense pain, Mores roars in fury, activating her ability. Puppets appear behind Utority. But Utority's expression doesn't change. With a single burst of speed, the puppets are torn apart, his speed rivaling the protagonist's. Utority is surrounded by a faint blue aura. He gets serious, landing a ruthless punch on Mores. The blow sends Mores flying, but before she lands, Utority blocks her path with a stylish pose, unleashing a brutal combo. An elbow strike sends her flying, followed by a knee to her back as she falls. Then a left hook followed by a right hook. A straight punch, then another ruthless strike. This brutal scene stuns the onlookers. They can only watch as relentless attacks rain down on Mores. Finally, Utority clasps his hands and slams them into her stomach. With a deafening roar, Mores crashes to the ground like a meteor. As the dust settles, Mores' battered form is revealed. Utority gazes at her like a predator. It seems quite painful. But compared to those you've hurt, this is nothing. He raises his foot and stomps down hard, eliciting another scream of agony. Utority calmly checks the time. 3 minutes left. Hearing this, Mores guesses his ability. Time acceleration to withstand such attacks and still speak normally. Mores' vitality is remarkable. Utority doesn't hide it. He can control the flow of time for himself or anything he touches. That means I can slow time down. His hand touches Mores' face. Feel the pain slowly, then die. Though just a moment, under his time ability, Mores feels it like a lifetime. Utority releases her, checking his watch. A pity. With more time, I'd have more ways to deal with you. But then, a laugh bursts from Mores' mouth. Hearing it, Utority coldly asks, why are you laughing? He grabs her collar. Have you lost your mind to fear? Mores doesn't deny her fear of death, but she's laughing because she didn't expect to complete her mission this way. Utority coldly demands what she means. Mores smirks mockingly. If I die, my special ability, martyrdom, will take those guys with me. The teacher gasps, what? Utority turns to the others, his face icy. Meanwhile, the old man soars into the air. His opponents, however, aren't faring well. Their bodies are covered in wounds. Kate counterattacks, lunging at the old man's face with his claws. But he's met with a heavy blow from the old man. With a loud crash, Kate collapses to the ground. Kines urges Kate to remove their restraints quickly. But before he can act, a punch lands on his forehead. The old man glares coldly at them. Such arrogant fools, you're still holding back your power. How naive, I'll make you never dare think that way again. He strikes a pose. The next moment, he glides past them like flowing water. Their forehands fly into the air. Agonizing pain makes them scream. The old man smirks at them. Let that healer reattach your hands. He's useful. Shinka watches in panic. He can't fathom where this old man came from. At that moment, the protagonist suddenly strikes. A punch slams into Shinka's stomach. The sudden blow makes him spit blood. He tumbles uncontrollably in a series of death rolls. Barely stopping, he clutches his wound, struggling to stand. Before he can act, the protagonist charges at him again. Shinka raises a spatial shield, screaming, "Don't come closer," but the protagonist barrels through, shattering the shield like glass. His ruthless kick lands hard on Shinka. Shinka spits another mouthful of blood. Looking up at the murderous man, Shinka pleads, "Don't do this, think it over." But before he can finish, the protagonist's fist slams into his stomach. The blow cracks the ground behind him. Shinka's consciousness blurs. His underlings, wanting to help, are powerless. They can only watch as the protagonist gathers strength for a final punch. Shinka, stripped of his queenly aura, cries out, "I don't want to die here." But pleading doesn't sway the protagonist. He's about to finish him off. At the critical moment, the old man appears beside the protagonist, blocking the fatal blow. The interrupted protagonist glares coldly. But the old man calmly explains, "This isn't a victory by your own strength. To be invincible, you can't rely on others' help." The protagonist ignores him, angrily swinging a fist at the old man, who easily blocks it. Feeling the force, the old man confirms his judgment. The protagonist, wasting no words, ignores him again. He swings another fist at Shinka, but the old man blocks it again. Repeatedly ignored, the old man grows annoyed. His tone chills. "Are you looking down on this old man?" The protagonist's response is a curt "Get lost," and a full-force punch. Kines and Kate watch in shock. But the old man catches the punch single-handedly. "Young man, I understand your feelings, but solving problems emotionally won't do with a casual punch." He tears a massive hole in the protagonist's crimson cage. Shinka stares in disbelief. Can human strength really reach such a level? A voice suddenly whispers in his ear, "If you want to escape, now's your chance." Shinka looks at the old man with reluctance but says nothing, taking his two underlings and leaving. Watching them escape again, the protagonist is powerless to stop them. The old man smiles at him. "Now, let's have a proper chat." The protagonist responds with an explosive strike. Mores mocks him with a smirk. "Yes, my death will trigger it. What will you do?" Utority's face darkens, but he won't compromise. He glances at the others and speaks. "Listen well, I regret what's about to happen." The teacher realizes something, his face filled with disbelief. Before he can speak, Utority delivers a heart-wrenching blow to Mores. Mores' eyes roll back, blood spewing as she collapses in screams. Utority looks on coldly. He could take her for treatment, undo her ability, then kill her, saving the children. But if she escapes due to a mistake, thousands could suffer. Better to end her here. Utority explains to the crowd, "Your sacrifice has value." Removing his watch, he says, "Treating cancer affects healthy cells. Your sacrifice is for the greater good. I thank you." With More's death, her heart ability activates. An ominous aura emanates from her body. Utority watches coldly. "Good thing it only works when she's dead, or it'd be dangerous." He bids the children farewell, ignoring them. Profi, the teacher, is excluded, as Utority believes he can survive with his abilities. As the martyrdom ability activates, More's massive soul appears before them. Her voice echoes, "Come, let's go to the underworld together." Chains bind the teacher and children. The kids scream in terror. The teacher calms them. Don't worry. Didn't I say I'd protect you? Moray's soul laughs mockingly. What nonsense are you spouting? The teacher calmly replies, as I said, the children will be safe. And here, accompanying you to your end, there's only me. These words leave Moray speechless, doubting if her ears are playing tricks on her. The teacher explains, as Utority said, he's only skilled at defense. At first, he deeply disliked his ability. It wasn't until Rose's guidance that he realized its importance. He can transfer his teammates' injuries to himself, so he'll do everything to bear all the harm in place of the children. The children look at their teacher with worry. Moraes, in disbelief, asks why he would go to such lengths. The teacher answers without hesitation, "Didn't I tell you? Because I'm a teacher." Moraes can't comprehend. How is this different from throwing his life away? You wouldn't understand me. We live in different worlds. You were raised by villains, trained to be a killing machine. Your life never had a chance for choice, always manipulated like a puppet. For someone else's twisted future, you walked a wrong path. Hearing her life denied, Moraes angrily shouts for him to shut up. But the teacher insists on speaking. He won't let her continue like this. Even if it means going to the underworld together, he'll correct the mistakes she was taught. Looking at this stubborn man, Moraes is so furious she could die again. You fool, being a teacher is a profession devoted to the children's future. From the moment Profi became a teacher, he was ready to sacrifice for them. The children cry out, begging their teacher not to abandon them, but he smiles warmly. It's okay, everyone become kind adults, because you are my future. The word future touches Moraes' heart, as someone once said the same to her. Back then, Moraes was just a little beggar, and that day a woman entered her life. Hello, everyone, from today, I'm your teacher. You are my future. That teacher was a ray of light in Moraes' life. But at 12, that light asked her, are you ready to sacrifice for me?